Well, and the Prime Minister is right. Energy access and affordability is critical to countries like Malaysia and all the ASEAN countries in this region. And if we're to be successful in meeting our climate goals, we can't leave countries behind in terms of meeting their basic energy needs and ensuring their prosperity. In terms of what the United States is doing, we have made our most significant commitments to date in terms of investing in energy technologies to meet our climate goals. We have committed $62 billion over 5 years to invest in energy technologies and infrastructure through our infrastructure legislation. And then our Inflation Reduction Act, nearly $400 billion in tax credits over 10 years to a whole range of energy technologies. Now, those are domestic investments, but we're also the second largest emitter of CO2 in the world, and we are the largest producer of oil and gas in the world. So we also have a very large obligation to meet in meeting our own climate goals at home. But there is a benefit to this region in that as we make these investments, we're going to be bringing the cost through innovation of all these technologies, bringing them down. We've seen that with in offshore wind with the investments that the Europeans have made. That's brought the cost of wind energy down for the rest of the world. It's especially obvious with solar. The Germans made real commitments over years to supporting solar in their own economy, and countries like Malaysia and Southeast Asia are now benefiting from that, both with solar, the manufacturing of the solar technology, but also the deployment of solar energy throughout the region. It was reducing those costs through innovation that made that technology accessible to the developing world and to emerging economies. We hope to do the same thing with a whole suite of technologies, from carbon capture and storage to next generation nuclear, advanced biofuels, advanced renewables.
So the technologies are there and can be actually applied, but what are the key challenges to making sure that regions in Asia can actually have access, fair and equitable and quick access to some of these? What do you think are some of the key challenges that both sides, the developing and developed nations of the world, can actually address?
Well, I think the Prime Minister and others are right. We need to do more in the industrialized world in making sure that countries like Malaysia and a whole host of countries in the global South have more access to concessional finance, so that we're able to finance these projects more widely in the developing world. Right. That's clearly a need, and especially if we're to meet our climate goals, the levels of deployment are critically important. But it's also reducing the cost of those technologies is the first step, and we can't underestimate that. We've seen where we're seeing renewable energy deploy rapidly all over the global South, and one of the reasons for that is the costs are much less now than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. We need to do the same thing with a whole range of technologies. Right. So it's both increasing the accessibility of low-cost finance, but also through innovation and deployment, bringing the cost of the technologies themselves down. It's I think it requires a two-pronged approach.